It's been a month since the federal government busted a dozen moving companies accused of ripping off consumers all around the country. And the customers had their items taken, held hostage, and some never returned. Well, WMAR 2 News' Mallory Sofasta's is right here, right now. She's been investigating these moving companies for about a year now, and she has the latest on the government's effort to return everybody's stuff because if it matters to you, it's a matter for Mallory.
Yeah, Jamie, there was this huge sense of relief. These people heard the government was stepping in, but now they're feeling anxious. You know, answers have been really hard to come by. They know their stuff is in a warehouse somewhere, but it's still just out of their reach. A big moment, a federal indictment. Confirmation that hundreds of people, potentially thousands, were allegedly scammed by 12 people operating more than a dozen moving companies.
We have obtained a restraining order to lock down 7 warehouses throughout the country that were used by this enterprise, including one in Westchester.
That's where Flagship Van Lines transported Michael Kasseri and Gail Lucas's items after they took everything they owned in June. And the morning of the indictment, the couple received the call they'd been waiting for.
They don't have any of our money and the FBI has our stuff. So we're good to go.
I feel lucky. Fast forward to today, a month later, and they're feeling a little less optimistic.
We get very little communication. We try and keep communication going with the departments that are handling these things, and we get little to no responses back.
WMAR 2 News has learned the holdup is due to legal proceedings.
Mr. Schucklin, Andre Schucklin, he was the head of the snake that set up all these multiple sham companies. He's being extradited from Florida to Cincinnati, and that they're waiting to take him before a judge to give permission for the victims to get their property.
The victims haven't been told when or if that will happen. Some don't even know if the government has their things. And Michael and Gail, who have become a sort of liaison for many of the victims, are pressing for answers.
I wrote a letter that made me cry because I was so depressed. I've since recovered a bit, and I got a 6 or 8 word response. When I hear something from the DOJ and the attorneys, I'll let you know. Boom. That's it.
Silence and no resolution. It's a situation they're all too familiar with.
Can you imagine if you went home today and everything you owned was gone? And you knew where it was, but you couldn't get it because of some red tape.
Well, if there's any good out of this, it's that the victims have come together to support each other. Gail and Michael actually recently helped someone who had their items put in a storage unit. Others have been able to contact the driver who moved their items, and he's told them where to find their stuff. And we've even heard of people affected by the scheme paying movers who they know illegally transported their items just to get what they own back.
You know, you get the government involved, you think things would move right along. I'm going to get my stuff back. And what's the government have to say about this?
Well, we reached out to the U.S. Attorney's Office. We haven't heard back yet. And we also reached out to the DOT Office of the Inspector General. They chose not to address our questions. And to give you an idea of just how urgent this has become, I talked to an ICU doctor today in Chicago. He can't practice right now because all of his credentials are in that Westchester, Ohio warehouse. And he can't practice until he gets a hold of those. So, I mean, that just tells you how dire.
Run that by me. The Inspector General said what today?
They chose not to answer our questions.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, call him again. Just get off the set and go call him again. WMAR 2 News investigator Mallory Sofasta's has been tracking these rogue movers now for months. You can check out her reports and things to watch out for when you are hiring a moving company by going to the consumer section on our website, WMAR2news.com/consumers. And if you have had a bad moving experience, Mallory wants to hear from you. You can email her at mallory@WMAR.com.